Do not forget to hit that subscribe button for the latest in boxing and raw boxing opinions. I want to start off the video by saying a quick apology. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to POVETKIN fans. I was very dismissive. Of Alexander POVETKIN because, I thought he was winning the fight prior to the 7th round knockout. I thought he was clearly winning the fight. But before I get into what I saw in this fight, I want to say, Eddie Hearn, thanks for doing this whole, DAZN deal, this whole DAZN deal. Because, I saw this fight for free. They had a free trial, and I got the free trial, and I saw this pay-per-view event for free. I didn't have to pay for it. I don't know how much they were charging for it, but I didn't have to pay for it. So that was all thanks to this whole, I guess, DAZN deal. Because, this wasn't around before. Once Eddie Hearn announced it, all of a sudden it became available. It's a thing where you pay like $10 a month and you get to watch all these fights, these big pay-per-view fights. And I didn't even pay. I watched this for free because of that. So shout out to Eddie Hearn. That's great, man. That's great. I didn't have to pay to watch this fight, but boy, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Anthony Joshua looked really bad in this fight. Like, he looked bad. First of all, they were both bloodied. But I don't know if it was the height of POVETKIN or what, but he looked bad in this fight. Like, Alexander POVETKIN was making Joshua look bad. It looked like, he wasn't really fighting a tall. I thought he was going to fight a tall man's fight. I thought he was going to throw more jabs. He looked like he was just trying to. I know he looked a little bit intimidated. Like, one thing I will tell you is Anthony Joshua looked very intimidated. Anthony Joshua looked very intimidated in this fight against Alexander POVETKIN. Like, even before the fight, he looked very intimidated. He looked like he was nervous. I could tell in his body language before when Michael Buffer was talking them up. Anthony Joshua looked very nervous, and Alexander POVETKIN looked very calm. Like, that's what I will say. POVETKIN looked very calm at the start of the fight. Anthony Joshua looked nervous as hell. And POVETKIN had, like, the vibe and the way the fight was going to POVETKIN and throughout the fight. Like, I felt that the guy winning the fight, the majority of the rounds, the guy who was basically, because fighters need to have a flow when they fight. When they are confident, when they have a flow, the way they're fighting, the way they're performing. And out of the two of those guys, POVETKIN was the one who was doing really good. POVETKIN was catching Anthony Joshua several times with hooks, with uppercuts, and he kept trying to feint. He would feint and then he would jump in and throw a little hook, and he was quick. I underestimated POVETKIN's speed. I felt that Anthony Joshua was going to be the faster one out of the two, but I actually felt that Alexander POVETKIN was faster. Maybe it's because he was a shorter heavyweight and it was easier for him to get on the inside. And what's funny enough is Alexander POVETKIN. No, when Anthony Joshua was in the amateurs, Anthony Joshua lost to a guy who was a short heavyweight. He's a guy from another country, but he was a short heavyweight who was coming forward. And I always felt the way to beat Alexander POVETKIN was to fight him on the inside. The way to beat Anthony Joshua was to fight him on the inside. And Alexander POVETKIN did a really good job. Very proud of Alexander POVETKIN. I give him credit. I got this wrong, guys. I thought it was a mismatch. It wasn't. Alexander POVETKIN looked really good in this fight. I gotta give Anthony Joshua credit for he got the job done. I thought he looked bad. I thought he was losing. I thought he looked really bad. But you know what? He got the job done. He caught POVETKIN. He heard him, and once he heard him, POVETKIN got on cruise street. Then he came forward and he was relentless against POVETKIN, and he stopped him. Then he came back and he knocked him down. This was probably the most difficult fight of Anthony Joshua's career since he fought Vladimir Klitschko. You know what? Gotta give respect to Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn said this was going to be the toughest fight since Klitschko, and he was right. This was a very difficult fight. This is why I tell you guys that Anthony Joshua is going to end up losing first than Deontay Wilder, because he is testing himself. You know what? This was a big test for him. He looked poor in this fight. He was bloody up. POVETKIN looked really good. He was hitting him, timing him, backing him up. POVETKIN looked like he was trying to win. I thought the age was going to play a factor, but it didn't. I thought he was getting tired, but again, the reason he lost was because he got caught, POVETKIN. But again, I thought he was winning the fight. This is another one of those cases where, I actually thought that the Vladimir Klitschko fight was more competitive for Anthony Joshua. This was more one-sided. I thought it was more one-sided to POVETKIN. But like I said, I felt that Alexander POVETKIN was going to lose because of the fact that he gets hit a lot. And I was right. He did lose. And I said someone's going to get knocked out. And I was saying it's going to be POVETKIN. And you know what? I was right. POVETKIN ended up being the guy to get knocked out. It was because He has poor defense, and once again he walked into a shot and he got knocked out, right? But again, I'm not going to take credit away from Povetkin because this was a really good version of Povetkin. He looked really good in this fight. But Anthony Joshua looked poor. Maybe it's just the fact that maybe it's just the fact that Alexander Povetkin is that good. Let's keep in mind he has one loss, and it was to Vladimir Klitschko. I'll tell you this though, Vladimir Klitschko dominated Alexander Povetkin way more than Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua was struggling. I thought he was losing. Povetkin dominated him. Vladimir Klitschko dominated Povetkin, but again, styles make fights, and the referee was being atrocious in that fight, letting Vladimir Klitschko do whatever he wants against Povetkin. The referee here, give credit to the referee. I felt that the referees were going to give Anthony Joshua favors. They didn't. They let Alexander Povetkin fight on the inside. This was a good fight. It was a really good fight. Very competitive fight. Like I said, though, I thought Anthony Joshua was losing. I thought he was actually losing the fight. That surprised me. I'm going to be straight honest with you guys. I thought Anthony Joshua would win easily. I thought it would be much more easier for him, but it wasn't. Anthony Joshua struggled, and that really surprised me, guys. That really surprised me, but that's just boxing for you. Sometimes you think about predictions, you think you know a style, but then boxing shows you that it's not as you thought. So I got this one totally wrong. I thought it was going to be more one-sided, but it wasn't. Alexander Povetkin, in my opinion, showed flaws in Anthony Joshua. Short heavyweights give Anthony Joshua problems. He was doing a good job of going in and out, moving in and out, slipping in and out. And I think that movement, that bob and weave style, that in and out, I'm going to throw a hook, I'm going to evade punches, I think it kind of like turned, it kind of like bothered Anthony. It kind of like took the rhythm away from Anthony Joshua because he just did not look himself. He looked like a poor version of himself. I'm going to be straight honest with you. Normally, Povetkin looks a lot more sharp. Normally, Anthony Joshua looks a lot more sharp, but he looked like a poor version of himself against Povetkin. I don't know. I just think he was intimidated. I think it was the fact that he was intimidated. Maybe, I would think he would be used to this crowd. I was going to say, he fought in front of a massive crowd, but he fought against Klitschko, but he just looked really nervous against Povetkin. I think he fought against Povetkin with too much respect. Sometimes fighters fight guys and they show too much respect. I think he fought Povetkin and he had too much respect for him. He was very cautious. He looked like he knew if he made a mistake he'll get knocked out. But Povetkin was hurting Joshua, bro. He was throwing hooks, catching him. Every time he threw it was short hooks. Every time he threw short hooks and he caught him in the face, Anthony Joshua would do a dance. Man, I'm telling you, man, that's why I keep saying, the guy who's going to end up beating Joshua is going to be a guy who knocks him out. The guy who ends up beating Deontay Wilder is going to be a guy who goes the distance with him, wins him via decision. But the guy who beats AJ is going to be a guy who knocks him out, and an aggressive fighter. This kind of just showed me another weakness to Anthony Joshua's game. He has problems with short heavyweights who dip and jabs like that and who go in and out. That's why I'm saying, I made a video a long time ago on my original channel saying, Jarrell Big Man Miller, he'll be a problem for Anthony Joshua because he's a short heavyweight who knows how to fight on the inside. People thought I was crazy. Yeah, right. But look at how successful Alexander Povetkin was against Anthony Joshua. So it just goes to show you that styles make fights. And it's just crazy to me how confused Joshua was in this fight. He looked very confused. He was getting blooded up. To be fair, Alexander Povetkin got blooded up too, but it was just not the same. I felt that this was so much. I thought the guy who was doing the better job was basically Alexander Povetkin. He just looked way better than Joshua in this fight. But again, this is the heavyweight division. One punch changes everything, and that's what happened in this fight. He was losing the fight, in my opinion. He caught him with a one punch. He hurt him, and the fight was over. It was all she wrote. So it just goes to show you this is the heavyweight division. You could be. That's why I said when it comes to Wilder, you could be out boxing Wilder. Come round 12, you win every single round. He catches you with right hand, and it's over. It's all she wrote. This was the case with this fight. I thought he was losing the fight. Had the fight kept going the way it was going, I felt he should have lost the decision, but he has punching power. He's a heavyweight. He caught Povetkin, and it was over. So that's why I gotta say, man, this is very surprised with Anthony Joshua's performance. Anyway, guys, if you watch the video, start to fans, as always, subscribe and let me know what you guys think of this video. And yeah, I'm out.